Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Meeting Gold podcast. I got my guy Umby over here from Warped. This guy, 22 years old.
Yes, sir.
And has built a business on just social media management, websites, the whole shebang. This guy's your digital marketing expert, whether he'll be too humble to say that or not. He's your guy. Umby, welcome to the show, my man. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm always, again, a little apprehensive to use that expert word, but I think I'm growing more and more into it lately. But yeah, thanks for having me again, man.
He's a humble guy.
Yeah, try to be for sure. Warped is a digital marketing agency based in Niagara Falls, Ontario. Phone's always going here, as always, with a digital marketing agency. We primarily build websites and do SMM, social media management. So overseeing social media channels for our clients, putting out content for them, and really taking their vision for what their business is and polishing it in a way that will do well online and get them numbers.
I love it, man. Can you, I don't know, like any privacy or anything like that, but can you give us some of your clients that you work with? There are some cool ones in Niagara Falls that our people would totally know.
100%. Yeah. So I don't think they would mind me sharing anything like that. So Warped has clients in, spanning across a couple different industries, but mostly our niches have been in real estate and restaurants. So restaurants in Niagara Falls, such as Ruth's Steakhouse, Vittorio's, Benihana, IHOP, Applebee's, stuff like that. And then also different real estate agents. We've been really fortunate to work with different brokerages, such as agents from David's and Delot, Peak Group Realty, CR Ford, stuff like that. So yeah, we started with a couple different agents with Peak, and then kind of just spread from there with word of mouth. The nice thing about what we do is your work kind of speaks for itself, or it sells itself the best way.
Yes.
So, thankfully we were fortunate in the beginning to put out some good content and kind of get the word of mouth rolling from there. And yeah, man, it really just snowballed from there. I've been really lucky to work with some awesome people and make some different contacts.
Okay. So I want to ask you a hooking question.
Yeah.
What's the biggest challenge, before I ask you about your story and stuff,
of course,
what's the biggest challenge you face starting your business? Like, give me like a one word or one sentence answer. I know it's hard.
Man, no, I think you kind of, this is maybe the cliche answer, but you kind of really said it within the question itself, is starting the business. I feel like the issue is always getting over that initial hump or the, all of the complacency of, should I do this, or what the doubts may be. Because as you know, with starting Meeting Goal with Vision Lux, man, as soon as you start nailing one domino, they kind of just seem to start to fall. And again, it's a cliche, but getting your feet wet, getting in the door, the opportunities just kind of start to move themselves. So yeah, I guess the only piece of advice I could say is just get started, have these conversations, have a coffee at Starbucks with someone, just open the door. Yep. And you never know what it might lead to. Yeah.
Actually, me and Umby met. That was it, this guy asked us out for coffee. I was like, I was a little skeptical. Right? Because I'm like, this guy owns a marketing agency. I don't know.
Exactly.
But hearing your story, man, I was like, yeah, we're getting this guy on, because you're 22 years old.
Yes, sir.
Which is incredibly young. I think we're both
says
young.
You, yeah.
It says me. I don't know
young.
if I have the right to say that, but like,
no, you've probably had other people on who are just like, man, you're how old?
Yeah, literally, I have, and I think the goal is we don't tell some of the people until I meet them in person to get the reaction.
Yeah, it's a good segment piece.
But like 22 years old, man, and you're working with some huge restaurant. I just went to Ruth Chris a couple days ago.
Phenomenal location.
Enjoy a nice steak.
Check it
right?
out, guys.
Like, just the best. I got to see what you're up to. But okay, give us a little rundown on growing up. Like 15-year-old you start, I always say like mid-high school, and then kind of starting Warped.
Yeah, no, that's actually, I think, a good place to start with my story, because of how, I guess, things lined up and how it flowed into my professional career. So 15, 16, 17, just ending high school, I was just starting Ruth's Chris Steakhouse as a host, actually. So this is about, I want to say 2017 maybe.
Oh, no way.
And I was working there as a host, and what happened was, in a nutshell, I had this idea to throw an event. I just was kind of always had that entrepreneurial hunger in me, and I wanted to do something, one that was going to kind of put myself on the map in terms of having some, business etiquette, but also doing something cool for my friends and attracting some kind of hype that way.
You're a social guy.
Yeah, exactly. So I threw an event called Bougie at Ruth's Chris. This is in like 2017, and it was just like a dinner formal event. So we weren't old enough to drink, obviously, or sell booze, but it was more so like a dinner and dance type of event. We got about 150 to 170 tickets sold, and brought out a lot of people from like St. Paul, Meyer, and different schools in Niagara Falls. And really, I was just able to show the Ruth's Chris ownership and management that, hey, this is, you know, an untapped market that I'm able to, you know, show you guys into or maybe put on towards Ruth's Chris, and they liked that idea. And from there it grew. So in speaking with management, they gave me the opportunity to work on the events department for Ruth's Chris and for the hotel.
Wait, pause for a second.
Yeah.
So you did the event,
Yeah.
and because of the event that you did for your buddies, you got that deal.
Yeah, exactly. So off of, again, maybe just something kind of, you know, kicking the door down and starting when you're not sure. Just had this idea, wasn't really too, you know, well-versed or really set up for success to do events. I really just learned as I was going, and it attracted enough attention or demand that, you know, it caught their eye and they wanted to see what else we could do. So that was the real start of me in promotion and digital marketing. And from there, when working with the events department in the hotel, in the 4 Points by Sheraton Hotel,
which
I
is
had the opportunity.
beautiful. One of the most well-known hotels in this area when you go to Clifton Hill or like Niagara Falls in general. Just so people know.
Yeah, 100%.
Like it's not some little rinky-dinky hotel
really,
here.
really great place. Fallsview Boulevard, awesome place. So when I was working there, I had the opportunity to work in the events department with some other really, really talented individuals, such as like Matt Anthony, who you've had on the show before. Other people such as like Vlad, who owns Moonbase, a really successful multimedia company in Niagara. So really just surrounded by creatives. Another one, Vittorio Fragale, really, really talented illustrator and graphic designer. So really just surrounded by other creatives and had the opportunity to pick their brains and see and learn from them. So there we were doing all kinds of different celebrity chef events at Ruth's Chris, like stuff like Chef Michael Smith, who is like a popular chef from the Food Channel out from out east, and different hockey players, Wendell Clark, stuff like that.
Jeez.
Yeah, so I was part of the marketing team that was in charge of like marketing this online. So the digital marketing, the sales, everything with that aspect. So I was kind of my first taste of, you know, large scale dealing with marketing budgets and allocating money and stuff that way. So did that for about 2 or 3 years, eventually became the digital marketing manager for Ruth's Chris. So I oversaw their social media platforms, their online marketing website, stuff like that. And that took me right up until around where COVID hit, man. Yeah, so 2020-ish. 2020 flew around, that whole shakeup obviously had to realign, readjust. A lot of people got laid off, and I wasn't working for about 6 to 8 months during that kind of readjustment period. And then I took a job with the city of Niagara Falls, actually. So kind of stepped out of the private sector, moved into the public sector for digital marketing. Yeah. And that was such a cool and rewarding experience, man. Dealing with small business owners such as ourselves on a day-to-day basis, helping them with anything from, you know, things such as small as creating a Facebook page to like, you know, tweaking their Facebook advertising campaigns to like help optimize their campaigns, stuff like that. So yeah, it was a really cool experience, man, to just meet so many different people. It was also, I think, where I would give credit to some of my success with Warped, as well as meeting a lot of people through the city of Niagara Falls, through the contacts there, and really just honing relationships, man. So yeah.
Number one thing.
Yeah, that's
Number one thing. Hey, don't feel bad for talking a lot.
I was gonna say sorry. I'm like
no. This is a show about you, man.
Paint the picture for you.
Don't you worry.
You know what I mean?
The reason we titled it Meeting Gold is because we want to have golden guests on like yourself. So that's totally fine. No, I love that.
Yeah.
What's so crazy to me is go back to like you started that event at Ruth Chris with absolutely zero intention of actually even like getting any business out of it or anything like that.
Yeah, no, there wasn't really any end goal or ulterior motive there. It was really, again, just to be like, okay, I want to do something cool. I don't know what it is, but I feel like there's something happening here. I felt like there was money around there, you know what I mean? Not to take the greedy approach, but of course it was driven by, okay, I want to see if I can start my career here or do something there.
Did you make some money off of that event?
No, not really, like not much or anything.
Like with the ticket costs and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah. I had made an agreement where I was going to make the restaurant and hotel money and then be kicked back, you know, X amount. And when it was said and done, I did, you know, make a little small piece, but in hindsight, it was really one of the best investments of my time I've made, right? It
just goes to show how much, if you value dominoes, I guess you could say, like that might be the topic, is valuing dominoes, in the sense that, you know, you do one thing, it will lead to something else. Somebody will always be in the group that you do something with. And it's big, important when you're doing the relationship side of it. Give me some ideas or some methods you've used in the past and present now to build relationships, like to build strong, healthy relationships. I mean, asking me for coffee was one, and now I've got a buddy. Like, you know what I mean? So, and potential work together, right? Like
Yep.
you never know, but give me some like strategies you use to build new relationships.
Bro, so many. Like that's a great one right there, right? Identifying people within your niche or people of similar mindsets, and just hitting them up, shooting them a DM, maybe getting in front of them and being like, hey, in a concise type of way, because a guy busy as you or myself, like when I reached out to you, it was probably 2 or 3 sentences like, hey, this is what I think could be possible. Do you have time to meet? Or giving them an actionable step, right? Like if you are going to reach out, this is what my idea is, or I'd like to do this, for example, right? So not only just, identifying these people, but also reaching out in a manner which, you're likely to kind of have a follow-up. And then on the note of follow-up, for example, after you have that initial conversation with someone, this is making networking, making contacts. After you have that initial conversation, like for example, us at Starbucks, a quick message right after goes such a long way, right? Like I think you might have even hit me before I even got the chance to message you, but hey man, thanks for the meeting. We usually leave meetings with kind of actionable steps after, if it's something that is to move forward. So it'll be like, hey, thanks for the meeting, man. I'm going to send you ABC. Looking forward to D, right?
Which we did. And then I said, I want to get you on the podcast.
100%.
I love it. And, I had this idea, student of the 21st century, because I feel like people don't know this.
Yeah.
So let's break this down a little. Let's do a really good service to people listening that are young right now. Okay. All right. So Umby, take me through. Okay. So you saw, let's say, use me as an example. You saw me on social media. What exactly did you say, or what comes to your mind now? Like, what would you have said to me to be like, hey, let's go to Starbucks? Like, what would you have said?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get people bogged down in the tiny details, because you can't overthink stuff like this. But really, I think what I might have gone at was, hey Sam, big fan of what you're doing with Meeting Gold, and also of your content with Vision Lux. I own a digital marketing agency named Warped. We have similar client bases, and I think that our services could really complement each other. Something like that, right?
But people wouldn't even. That's what I'm saying. Is like, you just think that's easy.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. I definitely, it's so true. I've definitely desensitized to what it might be. But yeah, just something that, again, I like to be as friendly and as concise as possible with stuff like that, because it really is just going to be a matter of, there might be 3 or 4 messages in the DM that are similar to that one. And if you're going to hit it back quickly, I want to get across at least what I needed to say to you.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm a big fan of yours, man. I love what you're doing. I could have went into real detail and been like, I'm going to try to stand out to Sam and be like, hey, I really like this episode with this person and what you said here. Do you really have the time to go through all of your DMs to the inch degree and every time? Maybe not, right? So especially with someone is hoping to have an end goal with you, or hoping to get to the next step with you, it's a lot more efficient, I think, to present the information right away.
Let's break that down even more, because it's the art of the deal starts with the intro.
Yeah.
And if you can understand how to, I hate to use the word butter up because it sounds so bad, but it's in a way like we do this with the podcast, right? Like we get to know you so we can build a stronger relationship with you, and subconsciously we're buttering you up, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah.
In a way, right?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Like when you sent that DM, you started it with what? A compliment, right? So you started with a compliment, and then you broke down, this is what I do, like literally in like 5 words.
100%.
And then you said, this is where I want to be with you. And then this is where we can potentially align. So you gave me a sense of mystery, which I think is what you need to do.
For sure. And I like the way you like compartmentalize that, you know what I mean? Because it's the start, the boom, this is the intro, just kind of the hook, catching your eye, if you will. And then getting right into, okay, the value piece of what the message really is, right?
So what are your goals then? Okay, so then take us through now the Starbucks or the meetup, the coffee, or the drink. Let's grab a drink. Let's grab a beer. Let's grab a coffee. Take us through that real quick. Give us like a 2-minute thing of like what you would kind of talk about, how you structure it. Yeah. I like talking, right? So I think we had a great conversation.
For sure.
It probably was easier than what you may have thought if I hadn't been a big talker, right? So how would you structure the conversation?
You know what? That's another good question, man. I think that it's really important to have a bit of a goal or an idea going into that you're looking to generally present, so you can at least get back into and stay on topic or be narrow in the sense of what you want to come out of it with, like you said. But it's also so important to remember, like, communication is a 2-way street. Being communicative, understanding, translating and decoding a message, right? So the way that you might go into a conversation with someone like you or I have a good working relationship versus maybe you're pitching to an A-list client that you've never really met before, your tone, your rhetoric, everything is going to be adjusted. You're going to kind of change how you're going to be communicating there. So it's important to kind of understand who you're talking to and then how you're going to plan to go about that conversation, right?
Interesting. It's almost like, I actually love that, because subconsciously, I think I did that as well, where you kind of think like, what kind of relationship do I want to build with this person?
For sure.
I could choose to be more formal, or I could choose to have a more friend buddy type of thing. So it's like, it's all in even the first message that you say. Hey, what's
100%,
up?
Yeah.
Is a buddy, hey, let's be friends. Like, I actually want to build like a trustworthy relationship with you. Like, I like you as a person.
Exactly.
Or, hi there, my name is...
Right? Or you break it down further too, right? Like the medium from which the message was coming across. We were talking, I think, over DM, Instagram, which if you strip it down a little bit, might have a little bit less of a formal, nature to it.
Yeah.
Right? Versus if I had been like, hit you with the huge email, hey Sam, blah, 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 so nice to meet you. First of all, it might have been spam foldered, but eventually if you had found it, there's a whole different feeling that comes with a LinkedIn message with an email versus an Instagram DM. And isn't that interesting, right? In the way that that we kind of communicate,
this stuff down.
Right? Oh, I find it so interesting too. And the way that we communicate in a modern business culture, right? Because more and more, I think we might have even mentioned this to each other before, but more and more of the conversation, more and more of these chats are moving towards Instagram, towards WhatsApp, these quicker messaging platforms, right? And there isn't anything less professional about it in any way. It's really just the way that you make use of the platforms, right?
Yes, exactly. And I think utilizing each platform in the way that you want to target this person. So let's say, let's say you have like you said, an A-list client. Would I DM, a guy who's doing $30 million a year in real estate? Maybe.
And who are you going to get if you DM that person, right? Is that person the one on their account all day?
It'd be a guy like you.
Yeah, exactly. Literally,
right?
yeah.
So it's like, you know what? I don't think he's really interested, or I'll connect them, or, so it's indirect.
Yeah.
It's harder to get in touch with more like A-list, I guess you could say, clients.
If you will. Yeah, I think, and again, in rooting what I just said, it was about, okay, if you're going to break down having a real goal, the goal being getting your message to this person or eventually meeting them or whatever it might be, you of course want to take the best method possible or that has the highest success rate, right? So you're going to think to yourself before you send this message, okay, how is this going to be received, or who is the decision maker in this organization or in this business, if you will? If it's one person, even a real estate agent, at the level that we're discussing, they might not be the decision maker for their schedule, for their daily appointments, right? So maybe we're looking for their manager, their social media manager. And if we know that we're talking to that person, we're going to adjust our message and being like, hey, we're not a huge fan of you, obviously, or maybe we are going to say that, but we're going to say, we have an interest in a proposal for, Mr. Atman or whatever it might be, et cetera, and getting at it that way, right?
No, I love it, man. Hey, let's now get into some things you've done now.
Yeah.
Okay, so you work with Ruth Chris, you work with IHOP, you work with some big companies and some big, like Peak Group Realty is a pretty big group.
Yeah,
they do a lot of sales.
Yeah. Shout out Peak.
They have a
They're
pretty
awesome.
big team.
Yeah.
So getting and managing clients. Okay. I feel like you've got the getting clients down. Now it's managing them. I always say, because it's like, if you're really good at what you do, the hard part is managing. The easy part's getting.
100%.
But take us through the getting side, because it's not always easy for everybody else, listening right now. It's not always easy to get clients. So how do you get your leads? And then we'll get into how to manage your leads.
Yeah. Definitely. So I think the point I might have alluded to earlier was about our work selling itself. And that goes a far way in terms of how I get a lot of work, how I get a lot of clients with Warped. So with the social media management side, a lot of the real estate content, a lot of the restaurant content, all of the different clients that we have, we're putting out, cool posts, cool videos, cool reels that are performing well on Instagram. And then other people in their industry are going to see this content and sometimes ask them, oh, is that you, or how are you doing this?
Who manages that?
Yeah,
for you?
a lot of the time you'll see in the first month or 2 months of us taking over account, there will be kind of a swing or a change in the the quality of the output. So then people will inquire, who's doing that, or what is that? I like that. So a lot of it has been word of mouth, man. Like so many good businesses, right? Just putting out good content and letting it run for you, and putting out a good service or a product and letting it sell itself, which can't be mistaken for any type of lack of a marketing approach, or maybe a lazy marketing approach,
Yeah.
because some people might feel like they're not doing enough when you're finding success that way. But the reality is that the content you're making, the product you have, whether it be a website for us or a social media post, is the best salesman for what you're doing if someone's looking for that type of service, right?
No, I love that. If you can master your craft will speak for itself in any industry that you're in, right? Just
For
like
sure.
you said.
For sure. And that in saying that is about 95% of it, but it's just not enough. So the other 5% is, okay, you have this great work, you need to put it out there. And it's not just 5%, it's a much larger piece of the pie in reality, but you have to get out there. You need to show yourself off. So there's probably, incredibly talented people within Niagara and abroad that do the same thing that Warp do, that your company does as well. But they might not be having conversations like we're having here, or they might not be wanting to put themselves in front of the camera or go out and, share their talents with the world. And, I get that. I'm quite introverted in a lot of ways as well. But the reality is, when you have something such as Warped with, such as a digital marketing agency, you have a product you're looking to sell, you need to scream it from the rooftops. You need to think of every interaction you have throughout the day as a possibility for getting your work in front of one extra set of eyes, right? And once you take that approach to conversations, to networking, that's when you're really going to start to feel comfortable in showing yourself off, showing your content off, right?
No, and I think it helps with self-confidence as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you can let your work speak for yourself, you're going to actually build a level of confidence that now you can go sell. I always say, like, the best salesmen are the ones that are never known as the best.
Yeah.
Reason being is because they're not even known as salesmen. Think about it. If you're really good at selling, nobody will know that you're selling. Or a really smart person. Like if I go try to sell a Warren Buffett, and let's say I'm a A-class selling, which I'm not, but I'm an A-class salesperson.
You're pretty good.
Thanks. But if I go to, Warren Buffett and I try to sell him on something, Warren's going to know that I'm trying to sell, but he's also going to know I'm doing it in such a strategic and smart way.
100%.
He's going to respect it.
Yeah.
Right. But I think the best selling methods are the ones when nobody knows that they're being sold to.
That's actually such a good point, bro. And I was having, again, kind of breaking down these things as we do in marketing, where we really break it down to beyond the surface level. I was having a conversation about this recently with a client on the note of influencer marketing. So obviously a big thing right now, influencer marketing, product placement, sending your product to an influencer and hopefully getting some traction back through posting online, right? We were having a conversation about why this maybe or isn't successful, or how you kind of quantify the metrics after. And the reality, when you really cook it down like we just are, about why these types of promotions are successful is, if I'm posting, say I have this new podcast that I'm launching, and I'm really trying to sell people to subscribe to it and get on board. If I'm promoting a promoted sponsored ad on Instagram, it's coming from me, Umby's podcast. You see that my goal is very clear here. I want you to sign up to listen, because I want you to spend money, spend attention, or any other type of currency that I'm looking to get from you, right? The reason that is successful is because you're coming at me directly, and I understand that you're trying to sell me something, but I'm seeing it in the most clear light. Now, the opposite approach to that, or the flip to that, is influencer marketing. The reason that is successful is because it's not as obvious, or it's not as apparent that the salesman is the actual salesman there, right? So, you pay someone like, a Kylie Jenner, for example, to promote a product.
Yep.
Previous to the whole Fire Festival debacle, where you have to, list it's an ad. You might not have known that she was getting paid to do that. You might have just thought, hey, she really liked that product. Now, how much more trust do you have in a brand being A, whatever it might be that she's using, when she's presenting it to you authentically, organically, versus that brand screaming at you saying, buy our product, buy our product.
Yep.
So masking the salesman, influencer marketing, that's a kind of a version of what we're talking about.
Influencer marketing is really starting to take off.
Yeah.
Because it's such a disguised way.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Like, I never thought it would work, because I always see, like, a girl on TikTok with a makeup brand, right?
Yeah.
I don't really have any interest in makeup, so I don't think it sells to me. So I don't think it works.
Yeah.
But then I'll see, let's say Peter McKinnon use a Sony 7 III. Well, hold on a second. Like, that's pretty interesting stuff, right?
100%. Yeah, there's something out there for everybody, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, Umby, get into, now building your business. Now it's managing. It's managing the company.
Yeah.
You've got some great people under you that help you work, a part of the team. I always
Yeah.
say team. They're not employees. I always say team. You know,
Yeah.
I guess by law they're employees. But
No, shout out
I always
Connor,
say,
my right hand.
right?
Connor.
I always say, like, great guys, you can
my
build a
boy.
great team,
Yeah.
right? Shout out to Dev behind the cameras, helping us
Man,
out,
yeah,
right?
Dev.
So exactly, right? So kind of give us a little rundown on like management of team, how you work with people. I know you've got a guy like almost full time basically, right?
Yeah.
Like so you've got some experience in that.
Yeah,
Give us a little
bro.
rundown.
Yeah, bro. So the Warp team is myself and one other person that works with me, Connor, my boy, super talented guy as well. And then one other person that we kind of outsource on a part-time basis a lot of the time. So the management of the team is pretty straightforward right now because we are such a small in-house team. We make a lot of the decisions together. It's really a group, as I always call it, Warped Media Group, a holistic approach to, all of us collectively working towards a goal. The management side of dealing with clients, managing the day-to-day business of it really comes down to what I guess I cook down to touch points and communication. So communication touch points, right? So when I was we were discussing that I have, monthly clients that are on retainers with Warp. So we have, monthly expectations or deliverables, if you will, for each client. And the point being there is that we have to, reassess or realign or discuss goals throughout the month as they go along. So touch points of communication, whether it be a text message or an email, go a long way in, just staying aligned with the client and hoping and understanding that you're staying on the same page with what they're looking to get out for their business, right?
Yeah.
You can see, or you can kind of envision that if, you were, you're doing this type of service for a business, you're representing them online and social media. If you were to go, 6 months, a year without talking with them, their business is going to change drastically. There's going to have things come up, move around, different pieces are going to adjust, and their goals are going to change as well, right? So having those points of communication, even just a message, hey, was thinking about doing this, or hey, what's going on here? Those go a long way in knowing that, one, they understand that we're, our mindset is in the thought of, creativity, new content, stuff of that nature, but also just, hey, checking in, knowing that, we're there for each other and stuff like that.
Touch points. I love it. And I think like even setting, it's easy as a business owner to get busy, right? And I found like in the past, I always allowed myself to get way too busy.
Yeah.
And the problem is I wasn't putting effort into building a new team, and I wasn't putting effort into developing a strong team, like people that I can actually go to and ask for advice, not just people that I can go tell what to do, because that's not I guess what you're saying, the holistic approach.
Sure.
Right. And so it's like, now it's how do you connect with your team? So rather than like, for example, for us, it's like, rather than buying that new camera, spend the $3,000 on a whole team event.
Yeah.
Because what's the point of buying a new camera if you can't handle, like, if you're going to produce higher quality, if you can't handle the more business that higher quality is going to give you, what the hell was the point of buying the new camera?
100%. 100%.
Same kind of for you, right?
And even for yourself, I'm sure it was, it's kind of like an eye-opening or an interesting point where you kind of a checkpoint in your career or your business where you touch that and you're like, wow, I have, obviously I have to allocate these funds or back into my business or allocate them into, invest them in my business. But now, as opposed to just hardware for yourself, especially with stuff we do, you do need A+ type of hardware and software.
Good computers,
but
everything.
Beyond that, now that you're looking at it as a real, as a real business, as a real institution, now how can I invest this in the brand and the idea and the awareness of what Vision Lux can be, for example, right?
I love it, man. I absolutely love it. Okay, now give me a little rundown on like some future goals that you have, and we can kind of talk about how you structure those and that kind of thing.
Yeah, man. Future goals, expansion,
Dreams.
bro. I'm trying to build an empire with Warp. So, humble but fierce right now, just taking on new clients in Niagara, Hamilton, the GTA region, and kind of growing locally here. But yeah, looking to take on some bigger new website clients. I really enjoy flexing our muscles with what we can do with the website projects, showing off different cool, interesting projects, and yeah, we just like to make cool shit online, man. So I really want to keep doing stuff like that, and just keep taking it up a level.
And you do great. You do the websites, am I right?
Yeah.
You do really good work with the websites, and
thank you, bro.
Of course, it's one of the things, like, you got to watch like quality control. Like I compare like a video to a website, but at the same time, actually, it's almost like a car to a house. A website is like the house.
Yeah.
A video, depending on how you use it, if it's commercial for Coca-Cola, different story, but typically a branding, like, Instagram Reel is like the car compared to the house. The website's going to be there much longer and going to be viewed much more than the video itself. So it's like you got to watch the quality control on that kind of stuff. What are some challenges you think you'll have growing, and how will you manage those? Because like, unless you charge, you know, $100,000 for a website, or, you know, so I'm just using it as a crazy example, but like, for you to scale to a point where you don't have to work for your money in terms of like, you know, every dollar you make, how are you going to scale and keep that quality? Do you have any ideas? Or is it something you're trying to work out now? Like, what is that?
Yeah, bro. It's something that I'm continually trying to work out. I think that any business that you have growing at the pace in which I strive for Warp to grow, you need to be continually thinking of those long-term questions while taking on all of your short-term goals, right? So with that, I think that, I really am interested in taking up a notch in terms of the magnitude of the projects we're taking on with Warped, working with some bigger clients, you know, stuff like, you know, big publications such as, you know, maybe Vice Media, for example, stuff like that, and getting in contacts there. Really just trying to level up the quality and the output of what we have going out to take it up a notch.
I always say, like, to scale it, I never used to think this, but to scale, it's all about people. Like, no question. It doesn't matter how good you are. You do get capped out, because there's a point at which somebody won't pay $500,000. Like, I'm just talking, like, if you want to make $1 million a year, right? How are you going to do that without building a team? Okay, break it down then. Let's say you can handle 20 shoots a month. You know, I'm talking myself. Let's say you can handle the websites are actually a lot. Like a website a month, maybe.
Yeah, it depends
it depends on the quality of the website, I guess. But,
right? Yeah.
You know, if you want to make more money without a team, you're just going to have to raise your prices, because if you're capped out, you have to raise your prices, premiumize your service, and that's fine. But maybe some people would disagree with me, but I do think that there's somewhat of a capping point to that. You know, I won't pay $50,000 for a website unless you know, Coca-Cola might. Yeah, but Coca-Cola's not going to pay, you know, $5 million for a website. Yeah. So it's like, you know, there's always that. Of course, yeah. There's always that number. Yeah, you know, that number might be big, so you might be okay with, you know, being capped at $5 million a year, which I think I would be. But
if that what it is, no, not 500 million.
Exactly, exactly, right. So I think I kind of look at it like that. But give us, like, is there any future things you want to do with anybody in specific? Like, call some people out. Like, is there some like crazy names that you want to work with that? Or like, you know, give us a little bit of we can hold you to it, like some big dreams.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so many. I think that I'm a huge soccer fan for sure, man. So I really like, from a local sense, I've always supported like TFC, would love to collaborate with TFC, MLS. Also a huge hockey fan, like Toronto Maple Leafs. So I think a huge project that would be really exciting for Warped would be something big in the sports realm soon. In our office, we always take on like sports ideologies or like sports references to like what we're doing. And I always kind of treat our job, our industry, our market as like a sports competition, as like the NBA finals, stuff like that, right? So I always say shit like, you know, I'm going game 7, stuff like that, or whatever it might be.
I love it.
Right? Those kind of, you know, having that kind of you know, culture in the office. I think something very similar to what Revel builds. I always see them making those references.
Revel
too,
did
like,
a great job.
Of like, that culture that, you know, they've built there, and using those type of that sporting culture. That's something that has translated into Warp. So I think that would be really cool, man. Working with something like a big soccer team, Toronto FC, something like that. That would be like a dream project.
I can definitely see you doing that. Okay, 2 more questions.
Yeah.
Oh geez, my throat's killing me here.
No,
2 more questions. Second last question I want to ask you. How are you going to do your first, well, I don't know if you've already done this. This is a big congratulations if you have, but how are you going to do your first $100,000 website?
It's a great question. I certainly haven't done that yet, so that'll be one for the bucket list. How am I going to accomplish it, or how will it
What do you think the process would be like? How would you go about getting it? And
I imagine that my $100,000 website is the process, the execution is going to be very different from my workflow right now. So, you know, where I am right now with one other team member bouncing ideas, mapping out a mood board for a site, and then a site structure, and then getting the content, creating ideas for the content and laying it out on the website. That's a lot of product of my own my own brainchild, my own ideas going on the paper. Whereas when Warped is at the level of putting out $100,000 websites, it's going to be a much more cohesive, fluid approach of a team building it and having different creative approaches and different creative influences throughout the process, right?
So like having, I love that. Like having like a whole team that helps you develop the creative ideas.
So you ever see like, you see like a fashion designer, like you go on like Jerry DiLorenzo or like, Kanye, for example, has like 400 different shoe colorways on the wall, and they're just kind of like picking pictures down, for example. That's what I envision that's how I want to be building websites where, we might have 30 different variations of just different hover style, hover animation on a button. And I want to be sitting around with the team and saying, okay, this is this, or this doesn't work because of this, right? So yeah, that's the type of level I want to take things to, where the design approach is cohesive. It's not just, objective to what I think should be the correct solution for the problem, but also, tearing it down, recreating it, challenging our ideas over and over again, stuff like that.
I love that. And really, playing devil's advocate in your mind, right?
So important with design, man. I feel like anything, I'm speaking for myself here, but any design project you spend more than, an hour on, if it's not just a quick edit or whatever it might be, you need to start asking questions of it, playing devil's advocate, showing your closest collaborators. Or maybe if that's not the way you work, then, I know some people are very concise and pragmatic in their designs, and they have one solution. It's always going to be the end product, and that's okay. But for websites, for stuff like that, if it's going to be something that you're putting out an end goal, a large product, you always need to be showing different people, getting different ideas. I love to put my idea, my subjective thought on a pedestal and then have it either, hoisted or torn down or whatever it might be, because at least I know that it's, polarizing in a way. It's making people feel a certain way about it. The worst thing you can get is showing someone one of your videos and not really, garnering a response at all, right? Maybe you might want to, really impress them, overjoy them with a giveaway video that you're showing them. Or, maybe it's something scary or for whatever reason around Halloween and you're making them feel those emotions. But if you're showing them something bland and, they're not reacting at all, then we're not really doing our jobs, right?
I couldn't agree more. It goes to show how much you value other people's opinions. From asking me to coffee and just hearing an 18-year-old's view on, building a business and creating content, which is, our vlogs and stuff like that is very different to what you might create for like designs and stuff, but it's very similar in the sense of the strategy, right? And going from that to now valuing other people's advice, give us some advice of your own. I want to hear 22-year-old Umby did a great job building a company, and it's in his opinion probably just starting. I'm sure you probably think that. Same as I think mine is, right?
Just starting, bro.
But what is some advice you would tell somebody building or I hate to say thinking about, because in my opinion, a lot of people think about building a business. I call it a business plan test.
It's what I was saying earlier, right, bro? It's like I think you asked the biggest problem or the biggest hindrance or issue with something like that, and it's really thinking about it, just getting started. And I was there for a long time too. Like I think the typical or a kind of standard plan or path that we find ourselves in with digital marketing or digital creation is like you go from, okay, I'm doing this well for a company, but maybe I can make my own money doing this, right? Then you start to freelance a little bit. You're like, oh, okay, I have a cousin or a friend that might need this. I can help them out.
Like testing the waters.
Yeah. And then you're like, holy shit, like someone's willing to pay for this. Like, wow, I can actually like, okay, maybe I will sell this. Those are kind of, that is at least how I mirrored my process. And those are kind of like a standard wave that people go about it. So if you find yourself in even just the A of that process, that, hey, you're doing this for a company, but you feel like you're doing it really well, what's stopping you from saying, hey, maybe this is something someone would pay for? And there's so many different ways to get, in the modern realm as well, there's so many different ways to get your service out, to get your product out. If you're not as incredible, the Sam Mealy, the incredible speaker and public speaker you are, maybe you're on Fiverr then, and you're grinding your ass off on Fiverr and getting your designs out that way. Because when there's a will, there's a way, bro. If you have the skill there, if you are a skilled graphic designer, illustrator, you can find a way to be successful on Fiverr, on Upwork, on these sites, or on, finding your niche on Twitter or whatever it might be and putting your content out that way.
I hate when people say like, oh, but there's no market.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
A guy sold rocks and made $3 million in 1 year.
Right.
There's no market. Okay. That's not true.
No. There, you have to always, we're speaking in generalities, I suppose, about video and stuff with digital marketing.
Yeah.
But if you have even a specific, prototype of a piece or whatever, you created the idea, or the idea exists because you think there's demand for it, right? So the market must exist there. You just need to find a way to position yourself in that market
and
for
you
success.
can test it.
Yeah.
What I love is that you mentioned like getting into Fiverr, getting into freelancing. There's all this kind of stuff like Upwork, all that.
Yeah.
Is you give your ideas a test. And the other thing I would say is like do free work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you do free work when you started?
Yeah, 100%, man. So much. Free work, doing passion projects, doing paying it forward, however you want to look at it. In the initial phase, and even up to this point now where I'm doing with Warped, I will still take on projects like that. It is so valuable for a couple different reasons, bro. I can even break it down further. So it's like, one, of course, to start, if you're very good at building websites, for example, no one's going to offer you a contract without a portfolio if you've never done anything like that, right? Your first couple projects realistically are probably going to be either free passion projects or something for yourself, whatever it might be, a couple $100. So yeah, you need to take those opportunities to show off what you can do. And it's important in the initial phase, especially if you have a service-based company like what we do, maybe with video especially, you need to have 3 to 5 pieces that you can show people that you can go sell yourself. Again, our content sells itself the best. The first question you're going to get is, okay, can I see something, or what do you have? Beyond
now we're
that,
laughing because we have so much.
Exactly. And now it's like, okay, hey, like here's the Rolodex. But beyond that, initially, okay, that gets your foot in the door there, but it also gives you really, really important opportunities to practice real skills, right? So there's a huge difference I think you'll find as well between, I think you coming out of, if I remember correctly, like grade 12, making some like gaming videos, stuff like that, right? Probably a lot of like passion stuff, like you were having like, a fucking fun time doing it, whatever it was. But then once you start to take on maybe your first 2 realtors or car clients or whatever it might be, you can see the sheer difference in the process and the expectations for those 2 works, right? And just having the opportunity of, you're not getting paid, but being in the real professional light, being in a real world setting of making a video like that opportunity, that experience is invaluable, right?
Absolutely.
So one, honing your craft and your skills, but also building your portfolio, right? Being able to get things under your belt to show off later.
Well, without a doubt. No, I think it's the best way to go about it. Devin's, I can tell Devin's like, oh, we're gonna have to cut the cameras again and restart. Listen, man,
running short on time.
We're running short on time, but this was a great conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. Always a pleasure.
Are you kidding me, man? This is always fun. I knew, like, I was actually genuinely excited to sit in this chair today and have a great conversation with you, bro. People want to hire you for a website. I want to hire you for a website. We'll talk about that later. But how can they reach you? Social media management, give us.
For sure. So would love to collaborate and work with any small to medium to large size businesses, man. So Warped Web on Instagram is @WarpedWeb, and Warped is just WRPD. So if you're looking to Google that, you can find our website online, and anything like that. Give us a show. Give me a holler, man. WRPD.
I swear that could be like a that could be like
you
a
can
cop,
you can you need to give me like a little radio jingle or something,
buddy. No. Yeah, that's WRPD. Website creation and social media management.
This guy right here, multi-talented.
I got it, man. I got to start adding voiceovers to my stuff.
Are you kidding me?
I'm so pumped, man. Listen, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Give Umby a nice little shout out. Share if you like this episode, and we appreciate it, guys. All the best, and we'll see you next week. Ciao.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for listening to this week's Golden Guest on the Meeting Gold podcast. If you learned something from today's episode, make sure to check out our other content on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, make sure to leave us a follow while you're there. Thanks, and have a golden day.